what is up, how are you doing? Welcome to the second video of this, I don't know how long, Python course. Today we will be talking about variables and data types. So, last video we were printing out some stuff to the console, okay? We had something like this: Daniel lives in the USA, Daniel is 50 years old, sorry, and Daniel, here I made a typo on purpose, has a dog, okay? So the problem I said that we had is, what if Daniel changes his name? So right now, let's say he's going to be not Mark, let's say Jack. So Jack lives in the USA, Jack is 50, and Jack has a dog. We don't want to write Jack 3 times, and if there were 50 places where we had to do it, then I wouldn't be happy at all. So what can we do right here? We can introduce a variable that is called name. Okay, how do we do this? Well, we're going to say name equals, for now, Daniel. Now, what this does, whenever we say name, whenever we write this thing in our code, this is going to reference what we wrote here, which is going to be Daniel. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Let's implement this in our print function. So, like I said in the last video, the print function works this way, that everything that's separated with a comma, so let's say Daniel right here, if we separate this with a comma, this will print it out with a space between them, okay? So it prints out Daniel lives in the USA. So what would happen if instead of Daniel we wrote the name that we defined earlier? Name, comma, lives in the USA. Well, it prints out exactly this thing. So let's do the same thing in every single one of these statements. Let's say name, comma, is 50 years old, and here name, comma, has a dog. Now, right here, we don't have to worry when it comes to typos, because if we made a typo in the variable name, for example, we wrote 2 E's, well, PyCharm is going to tell me that I am stupid and I should fix this. When we had the example before, where we had only the text and we had to fix every single text, well, it was a lot harder back then. But now, if we run this, we get Daniel everywhere, because we are referencing this variable here. We don't have to write the word Daniel everywhere. So now, let's see the solution to the problem. What if Daniel changes his name to Jack, for example? Well, now the name variable references Jack. So wherever name is in our program, well, this will just mean Jack. If we run this code, we have Jack instead of Daniel everywhere. We had to change only one line, so there is a very low chance that we make a typo. And of course, we don't have to write it everywhere in our program. Alright, so let's keep going with those variables. Let's actually add another one, which will be called age. So Jack is right now 50 years old. So how do we modify this print function right now? You can pause and try to do it yourself, so that it prints out exactly the same thing here, but we have the age variable also nested in here. Well, go ahead and try. Alright, so the answer to that is we will delete this, we will end this text here, we will start a new text here, and we will add a comma. So right now, what this prints out is Jack is years old, but if we add our age variable here, add another comma, it will print out exactly what we want. So all these 4 things are separated with a space when they are printed out, of course. So now let's say Jack has his birthday today. So Jack is 51. And it prints out Jack is 51 years old. So this is cool because we can have our variable definitions somewhere at the beginning of our program, and they can be used later on. So this is amazing because we don't have to look for them everywhere. We can just get up here to the beginning and modify them if we want. Now, one more thing I forgot to mention in the last video are comments, and we will be using them a lot in this video series. What are comments? Well, you can write a comment by using hashtag in Python. So hashtag, this is a comment. Now, comments are ignored by the Python virtual machine, meaning that this is some code that will not be run. Whenever Python sees this hashtag, it means that this is not meant to be run. Okay, print, well, print a name here. Okay, we can print whatever you want. Now, this is code that has to be run. Whenever we run print, well, we get this in our console, right? A name here. Now, the comment was ignored, so comments are made to describe what your code does, for example, or to just write some funny stuff. Alright, let's talk about data types right now. So, before we had this name variable, right? I said name equals Jack, and I've been referring to this Jack here, written in quotation marks, as text. Now, what this actually is in Python is a string. What a string is basically a collection of characters, or a string of characters, as the name implies. Now, characters mean J, A, C, and K. Now, altogether as Jack, this is a string of characters. So Python sees this type as str, right? Str is a string of characters. Now, apart from that, we have numbers. As you saw before, we had an age variable. Age equals 50. Now, what this 50 is an integer. It's a whole number. It doesn't have a decimal point after it, right? So if it's a whole number, either positive or negative, then it's called an integer, or an int, as Python sees it. So this is an int, which is basically a whole number. What else do we have? Okay, so some more basic data types are, for example, a decimal number. So I said this one is without a decimal. This one will be with a decimal. So let's say temperature. A temperature can be with a decimal point, for example, and we can have a negative number or a positive number with a decimal or without. So since we have a positive here, let's make this one negative. Let's make it cold outside. We can say it's negative 31.61 degrees outside. So this is what's called a float, or a floating point number. This refers to the point, the decimal point that's right here, so I'm going to say float is a decimal. So notice I'm using comments right here, just to clarify the code that's being written. Alright, so let's print out all of these things to the console. Let's say print, name, age, temperature. And we will get Jack 50 and negative 31.61. Alright, and the last data type that I want to talk about, the last basic data type, I mean, is a boolean. Now, this name is long, this name is funny, and this is basically either true or false. So let's make an appropriate variable here. Let's say is underscore rich. Is underscore rich will be false. Now, this can either be true or false. Okay, so let's have false for this example. This is what's called a bool. A boolean, well, in Python it's short with bool. Well, it's either true or false. So if we print out is underscore rich, then we should get false. Now, this is another thing I want to talk about today, which is a naming convention. If you have variables that are made out of a couple of words, well, you can't do it this way. You can't say is rich equals false. This is an error. You can't use spaces to name your variables. So how do you do this? Well, you can either use an underscore like I did here. You can do something like this. You can say is and with a capital letter rich, or you can just say is rich without anything. Now, in Python, the convention is to use underscores wherever you use space. So this is how I'm going to be programming in this course. And if you want a couple of words in your variable, for example, how to learn Python equals a URL to my video, then you just add several underscores in order to show that this is a couple of words. So to end this video, I will show you one last thing, which is going to be the type function. So I've used this word function. Last time we've been using print. So print is also a function. Now a function is basically something that does a specific action. So what print does is it writes everything to the console. Now we're going to talk about another function here. This function is going to be called type. So whatever we pass inside type, you'll see name equals Jack again, and type of name. So when we run this code, we will get nothing. Now, why did we get nothing here? Well, because we didn't print anything out, okay? So type doesn't print anything. Type does something different. So let's say we want to print out what this thing does. So let's print type of name. Okay, so now we are going to nest this thing inside a print function. So what we're doing here is we want to print out, we want to see here in the console what this type function will do. So let's see what this does. Well, it prints out something like this. It's class str. So like I said before, str stands for string, right? So this data type is a string. Don't worry about this class keyword here. We will learn more about it later. But what's most important right now is this thing that's after the class, meaning this is an str, a string type. Okay, so let's say age equals 50. Let's not be original and let's do everything that we've done before. And now we're going to print the type of age. So the type of age is int, right? The next thing might be age of dog. So the age of a dog, let's say it can be a decimal number, because dogs live shorter than humans, so we can have their age tracked more accurately. So let's say that Jack has a dog that's 6.81 years old. And if we print out the type of age of dog, we should get type float. And of course, if we have our famous is_rich variable set to true this time, say I made $1 million from a lottery, and print type of is_rich, we should get bool. So this type function will get back the type of the variable you put inside here. Okay, so what we've been doing right now is writing a set of instructions in our Python file and then simply executing it. So this program isn't interactive at all. And what if we wanted for our program to wait for us to write something and then keep going? Okay, so we would want our program to be interactive. So this will be the main subject of the next video. Stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, comment down, tell me that you have subscribed. This will mean a lot to me. Of course, don't hesitate to click the like button, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.